Amanda Knox is apparently taking grief from trolls. They seem to be attacking her for making money off of her roommate's tragic murder in Italy back in the day. I am consistently on the right side of history 99.44% of the time. The Amanda Knox story was no different. I nailed it. Amanda's saying people forget that I'm a human being. She's saying she exists through the lens of Meredith Kercher's murder. She's saying this is not about profiting off of Meredith's death. I can just basically figure stuff out. I could do it despite not knowing I had Asperger's. If I had known that I have ASD, I could have probably cranked out a lot more. I would have much greater confidence. But we can't live with regrets. We have to keep moving forward, as if we're plants, as if we're growing, as if we're part and parcel of the universe. I wrote this on Tuesday, October 4th, 2011. Amanda Knox freed. Italy requests emergency UN aid for egg removal from nation's face. Amanda Knox in a Perugia, Italy courtroom on Monday after her conviction was overturned. Amanda Knox did not deserve to have so many years of her life wasted. The prosecutor who somehow was able to get a guilty verdict is a confirmed fruitcake. If you click on the above image, it will take you to that New York Times article. Apparently, Giuliano Mignini isn't the only one living in denial. The joyful reaction of the defendants contrasted sharply with the looks of ashen disappointment by prosecutors and relatives of Ms. Kercher. They had flown to Perugia on Monday. It was a bit of a shock, obviously, her sister, Stephanie Kercher, said on Italian television after the verdict. Lyle Kercher, the brother of the slain woman, said he was very disappointed. He added, "In any case, no one will give us Meredith back, but we are very upset." End of excerpt. So apparently the family of the murder victim are in favor of police and prosecutors fixating on murder suspects and running with that football despite there being a dearth of actual evidence. The UK Guardian has succinctly summed it all up from an article titled Amanda Knox, Victim of Italian Code which puts saving face before justice. U.S. writer Douglas Preston argues that the rush to judgment over Meredith Kercher was to save prosecutor Giuliano Mignini, the police, and the judiciary from public humiliation. Mignini has claimed that Preston is masterminding a U.S. press campaign against him over his handling of the Amanda Knox case. The story begins almost a decade ago, long before Meredith Kercher's murder, when the Pubblico Ministero, the public prosecutor of Perugia, Giuliano Mignini, opened an investigation into the mysterious death of a doctor whose body was found floating in Lake Trasimeno in 1985. Mignini believed the doctor was connected to a satanic sect, which had murdered him because he was about to go to the police and reveal its many crimes. Mignini believed this shadowy cult was connected to infamous murders committed by a serial killer known as the Monster of Florence. Then, in 2007, came the murder of Meredith Kercher. Mignini took up the case with a vengeance. He and the entire Peruvian power establishment, who approved various stages in the investigation and subsequent arrests, rushed to judgment. Believing that Knox's behavior after the killing was less than normal, they hauled her in for a grueling and possibly abusive 14-hour interrogation and extracted a compromising statement from her. That was enough. About 50% of all criminal convictions in Italy are reversed or greatly modified on appeal. Knox and Sole Cito joined the 4 million Italians since the war who have seen their lives ruined by false criminal charges, only to be proclaimed innocent after many years of agony and imprisonment. While they don't like others pointing it out, many Italians are well aware that their judicial system is dysfunctional. Silvio Berlusconi is absolutely right when he says the judiciary needs fundamental reform. The Italian judiciary, a holdover to a great extent from the Mussolini era when Italy was a police state, acts with no checks and balances, in which prosecutors and police wield enormous power. End of excerpt. Look, I admit this blog entry has been mailed in. Nonetheless, as 2 + 2 = 4, so it can be said that the satanic panic has been a rubbish craze that has ruined many lives. It's time for Italy to get its act together, or they should expect a massive drop in tourism. Who wants to visit a country that is this backwards and would take so many years to correct such an obvious and idiotic injustice? By the way, for anyone who might check out the actual article I wrote, there's a second part to it in which I covered a silly lawsuit by a Neil Brick against a Doug Mesner. The funny part of that is that Mesner turned out to be this guy. One of my special interests as a blogger had been the satanic panic. That's how I came into contact with Doug Mesner. Later on, I re-looked into him a little bit and came to the conclusion that he is a Cointelpro agent. We can't go on together with suspicious minds. Everything is not always a coincidence. I think this is from 2008. Here is proof of Anderson Cooper promoting Ted Gunderson. The trust is completely gone. There's no excuse for ever promoting Ted Gunderson. These are the same people who propped up Alex Jones.
She supports her religious organization and her corporation from being a psychic. Yes, that's a fact. Okay, all of which is returned back to her spiritual organization and her corporation. Sylvia gets no money at all from her psychic readings personally.
Okay. I want to bring in James Randi. James, you've actually called Sylvia Browne a villain. We spoke to Ted Gunderson, who's a retired senior special agent in charge of the FBI in Los Angeles. He's worked with Sylvia, and he says he's worked with her quite a bit, and he says this about her. He says, quote, "I've worked with numerous psychics in the past, and very few are really on target, but Sylvia Browne is probably one of the most accurate psychics in the country." Now, that's from a former senior FBI official. Are you saying he's wrong?
I believed in some conspiracies, in particular chemtrails. And I always wondered why, if it was such a ridiculous conspiracy, why would people bother trying to debunk it? I guess with a corollary, we see Anderson Cooper giving too much credit to Ted Gunderson.